So I'm going to go on mute.
Okay, I thought it would be easier to explain how to do this with a video rather than trying to just talk about it. So I appreciate the question. What the question was involved a image from the gallery, and it was a design called Box with Top that tucks, and I just typed in search for box with top and click on search, and I get the box that she's talking about. You can get the same box, and then you can work along with me or after me to see how that goes. So her question was, how can I change this box so that it's 1 inch deep and 4 1/4 inches square and fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet? So right now it's narrower. If I click on this, we can see that the box itself will be 3.7 inches wide, 4.39 inches high, and the flaps are wider than 1 inch, I think 1.5 inches. So there are a number of different ways you can approach this. I did it a few different ways, but I'll show you one way tonight. So I'll start with the design as we got it from the Make the Cut gallery, and I'm going to move it off to the side here, I think. Yeah. And I'm going to go to Basic Shapes and import a square. Type SQ and Find and double click on the square. And I think I will view this in green so that you can see better what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do with this is design the body of this box with squares to be the size that she wants it to be. So she said she wanted it 4.25 inches wide and 4.25 inches high. So if you type that in and press enter, that's what you should get. Let's use the gold lock icon and just 4.25 and enter. So I have, this is the size she wants the box to be. So we have a front and we have a back. And then she wants the side panels. I'll just hold down Control and Shift and drag, and I want to make the side panel still 4.25 inches high, but I only want it 1 inch wide. So I'll type in 1 and press enter. And that'll be for this side. And then this side will also be the same. And there is a problem with making this other flap a full inch wide, because if I do that, I'll show you what the problem is. It's 11.5 inches wide, and she needs it to be 11 inches wide. So basically what I need to do with this flap over here is make it a 1/2 inch wide so that it'll fit on the paper that she wants to use. And that's not really a problem because this is just overlapping this other side here. So if it overlaps only a 1/2 inch, it should be okay. So I'm going to make this 0.5. And I'll select all of these and type T to align them to the top. And then I'm going to zoom in real close to put these pieces right next to each other. So I'm going to type 4 and 3, and this gets me really close. And I'm going to just click on a shape, select it, and use my arrow key to line up exactly those lines on on the rectangles. So click on this one and move it over to the left till it's exactly on top. I click on this one and move it to the left with the arrow. And then this piece, move it to the left. Now the top piece up here has a straight line right now. I can make that curved, slanted, just by clicking the node editing tool. To get there, I click this figure 8. If you click the figure 8 in the upper left corner, it opens up the node editing toolbar. I'm going to click on this second arrow, click on the line to select it, and I'm just going to move this down a bit. It doesn't really matter how far, it's just a tab. I do the same with the bottom. Click on it, and then this is a left click to just make a tab out of that last ½ inch there. So now that I've got all my main pieces, I'm going to borrow the pieces from the original design to add to the top and the bottom. Meanwhile, I can get rid of some of these lines because they're duplicates, and I'm going to use the lines for the center square, the front and the back. I'm going to hold Shift and click on this square and then this square, and I'm going to use the smaller of the two green plus icons at the bottom of the screen to send these to their own layer because these are score lines. I'll go to the color icon, click line style, create a new line style, and adjust the spacing to where I want it to be, then click OK. So now I have these lines as score lines. I'm going to hide that. And since I have a score line here, I don't need this line. I'm going to click it and click delete. And I won't need this line. So I already have a score line there. I won't need that one, so left click and delete, and I won't need this one, left click and delete, and I'll show you why I don't need those, because there are already score lines there. Now the other lines that I do need to be scored are these here, so I can do those. I'm going to left click on the top line, and then at the end I'm going to right click and break node because I want it disconnected from this line. This is going to be a solid line, but these two are going to be dashed lines. So I'm going to click again on the bottom line, right click on the end of the line, and select break node. These are going to be solid, so I don't have to do anything with them. So what I'm going to do now is select those lines and break them using either Control+B or the break icon at the bottom of the screen. This breaks those apart. So now I can click on that line, hold the Shift, and click on this line, as well as this line while I'm holding Shift. And I'm going to send them all to their own layer. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll click on this layer, hold a Shift, and click on this layer. So I have both layers selected. I'm going to send them to the top layer and then get rid of all these empty layers by clicking on the trash can. So now I have all my score lines all on the same layer, and I can choose whether I want to do them dashed or whether I want them to be solid and use an embossing tool with it. So now that I have all of my score lines ready, I'm just going to hide that layer, and I'm left with some other lines here. What I want to do now, I'll zoom out a little bit, is work on this part of the design here. I want to get the top pieces here and the bottom pieces separated from everything else. This part, this square rectangle here, could be the same I'll overlap that. It could fit there. So I think I'll kind of just hide that for now. And what I'm looking at is these top pieces. I need to separate them from these pieces because these need to be resized in the width and height, but they don't all get resized proportionally. Each one has a different measurement that needs to be changed. So I'm going to zoom in on those pieces, and again I'm going to use my node editing tool to break them apart. So I use the second arrow, or F2 will get you the same tool, and I'm going to click, let me see if I can hide these lines. Yeah, I can hide those lines. I'm going to double click right where that dashed line intersects this line to add a node. Double click. Now I can click this little piece of the line to select it, and I'm going to right click at the end and do a break node. I'm going to do the same here, right click and break node, and right here. And the reason I need to do all of these is, again, this is going to need to be resized wider and this is going to need to be resized narrower. So I have to separate each piece. A left click, break node, left click, break node, left click, break node, left click. This is a right click, break node, left click, right click, break node. I don't know if you talk to yourself when you do this, but it helps me. Left click, right click, break node. And then right here I need to double click to add a node because this line goes too far down. I want to break it right here. Double click, that adds a node. Then left click here and right click, break node. Now that I've got them all broken, I can select them all, Control A. I can't select all though until I'm up here and click on selection. I also don't want to do select all because I don't want to select these here. So I'm going to just drag my mouse around the whole thing and I'm going to hit break here. Now this breaks apart all the pieces at the points where I broke the nodes. So now what I have here, I'm going to, maybe I can, I'll just take these pieces one at a time. And this one needs to be 1 inch tall and 1 inch wide. So I'm going to type in the 1 and press enter, and that resizes that. Then this one needs to be 4.25 inches wide by 1 inch tall, and press enter. And this one needs to be 1 inch wide by 1 inch tall, press enter. This one needs to be 4.25 inches by 1 inch, and press enter. This piece I don't need, so I'm going to delete it. And this piece needs to be 4.25. Then I tab over and type 1, enter. This one needs to be 1 by 1. 1, tab 1, enter. This one needs to be 4.25, tab 1, enter. This one needs to be 1, tab 1, enter. Whoops. Didn't get that one. 1, tab 1, enter. Okay. Now this line, I already have the left side lines, so I think I can get rid of that. And what I need to do is put these lines, these pieces all in place. I like to keep them kind of in a row and select the whole row. The spacing is wrong, but they are in the exact alignment where they were. And if I get these right, I'll be able to do a fusion weld with these. So I'm going to zoom in really close, 4 and 3. That zooms me into 300%. And I'm going to, with them still selected, I'm going to arrow down until this line here lines up perfectly with the line on the design. And I can hold down hold down Control, go to the right side here, and drag, and this will move everything closer. I don't know if it'll move it perfectly close, but we will see. So now these pieces here, I really want them to stay together. I'm going to take this little piece out, move it to the right with my arrow key. Control and arrow moves it faster. And I would like these pieces to stay together, so I'm going to join those. And then move the piece over so it's perfectly aligned with that square below it. And you see that these lines don't really line up too well, but that's okay, because we can left click, right click. Sometimes want to left click on the straight line. It's not straight, it looks like I bent it. So I'm going to right click, convert to line. Then I'm going to click on the end, left click, right click on the end, and join to closest nodes so that I now have these joined. I don't really have to join them. I was going to use fusion weld, but if they're not close enough, they won't. I would like to delete this node and right click and convert to line so that's nice and straight. So those are connected. I could do the same connect here, but I'll do a fusion weld with that, I think. I'm going to click the selection tool and get this piece in line. And this is lining up with my other piece here. I'm checking this side, and I really would like them to line up well. And you can change the positions of these lines just by selecting and dragging them kind of close. And I'll leave them just kind of close. Oops. When you bend them, left click, right click, convert to line. They can just be sort of close because a fusion weld will fix all that. I'm going to right click, delete node, left click, and convert to line just to make it straight. It would cut even if it weren't exactly right, but I just like them to line up well. And this line's just not quite long enough to meet this one, so I'm going to bring it down. Left click on the bottom line, and I think I'll right click and delete node, left click, and convert to line. So then I'll do the same at the bottom. First I have to grab all the lines over here. Helps to reduce the zoom here so I can get it all. I'll move this one over. So I'm just dragging it. And again, we'll do the same thing. We'll make sure we line up all the pieces about where we want them to be. And I'll zoom in again, 4 and 3. I want to make sure this end piece, I'm just using my left arrow key. looks like maybe this whole thing needs to be moved down. If I get the size wrong, that would be sad. Then I would have to resize it all again.
Julie?
Yes.
Just throw that bottom lot away and copy the top part. You've already got all that. You've spent the time getting the top part done. Do a copy of the top lot part and mirror it.
Yeah,
and bring it down.
That's a good idea. Because I did do all of that, you're right. Okay, so I selected all the top and I didn't weld it to anything on the bottom, so I can do that. I'm just going to drag it a little and do a mirror. Use my control key and arrow and take this down. And I'll just get rid of all this, so it's out of the way. And I'm using my control key to move faster. Now before I lock anything into position, what I want to do is select everything and make sure that it's the right size. So I have 11 inches wide, just a little wider than 11, and I have 6 1/4 high, just slightly higher. So I could move this up just a tad. Now it's too high, so maybe just one tap down. I want this to read 6 1/4 inches. Now I know, Susan, you could do this a whole different way and make it perfect. 11 point, that's close enough for me. So I'm going to take a look at this, make sure that I'm again close there, and it looks pretty close. And if everything's close enough, I should be able to zoom out and select everything and do a fusion weld, and it should just weld all together. We'll see. So I'm going to select it all, click on the wrench icon, and click on fusion weld, and I'll take it all the way, tolerance to the right, and click on apply. Oops, it doesn't work if you don't join it first. So I join them, and fusion weld, apply, and there we go. They all join together. Now we have this other little piece. I should have centered it first before I fusion welded, but I can still do that because I've got these other pieces. So what I'm going to do is select just these two and type S to stack them. And this window is an optional window, so if you don't want to cut it, you can just hide it. If you do want to cut it, you can show it and it'll cut right out there. And so I'm going to click on the trash can to get rid of empty layers, click on the eye icon to show all, and I can get rid of all this over here because we no longer need that. And we have a very nice box. It's 4.5, maybe 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 by 1 inch deep. So I should save it. Save as, and we'll just save it as number 2, so I know that that's the last one I did. Any questions?
There are no questions.